If I could have your attention, please. I'd like to welcome you to the special City Council meeting this Thursday, September the 1st, 2022. With that, I'll call this meeting to order, and I'll ask that our clerk please call the roll.
Mayor Blackwell?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Matheny? Here. Councilmember Urban?
Here.
Councilmember Askew?
Here.
Councilmember Trace?
Here.
The first and only item on our agenda for tonight is the discussion and the possible direction of city manager candidates. In our last council meeting, I certainly advanced the recommendation that we move forward with considering a candidate for our city manager position rather than going through a professional review process with an outside agency. And so for the last several weeks, the City Council has had the difficult task of interviewing two quality candidates and deciding who we feel is best qualified to be our next city manager. So I'd like to speak first, since I kind of started the ball rolling, and certainly give you my opinion, then give each of you an opportunity to share where you have landed on this issue. First of all, I want to make it clear that I sincerely appreciate Ms. Veronica Miller, her many years of service to our city. I certainly believe that she's a gifted and capable individual, and I would not want to do anything that would injure our relationship, nor give her the impression that I do not believe that she's a qualified, quality, and gifted leader. While she certainly is a good choice for our city manager position, I believe the other candidate, Darren Gray, is a better choice. The only negative thing that I want to say is this. I believe the wisdom and the appropriateness of appointing Ms. Miller to the city manager position while her husband is over a major department and who is a direct report to her, I believe is not wise, and it sets up a potential conflict of interest. Out of all the concerns that I've had people outside of our city and even many of our residents bring to my attention has been that one issue. You know, where does a major staff member in the fire department go when he or she has a major concern about the fire chief that should be brought directly to the attention of the city manager? What if the fire chief needs to be reprimanded? What if there is a major conflict just because of their relationship as a husband and wife? What if he needs to be fired? What does a city council member do when a staff member or resident comes with a major concern regarding our fire chief? Most likely it would never happen, but if it does, it certainly has the potential to create a most awkward situation. At least it would for me, and I believe it would for council members. While Ms. Miller is a highly experienced person who has faithfully served our city for many years, I do not believe that she has the level of experience, nor does she have the potential for leading our city forward, especially when we need to develop commercially, that Darren Gray has. You know, I thought about, some of our discussions that we've had as council members, and I thought, what are we looking for in a city manager? I believe that we're looking for someone who has extensive experience with a verifiable track record of successful leadership. I believe we're looking for someone who has strong, proven relational team building skills. I believe we certainly need someone who has proven financial experience and ability. I believe we need someone who has commercial connections, who can help us take our city to another level economically. I believe we need someone who has a firsthand knowledge that has certainly been addressed by the council of working here in Central Florida, not in some other locale that has no experience here. And I put at the bottom of my list, one of the big things is someone who has integrity. I believe that Darren Gray certainly has and meets all of those qualifications. We certainly need someone who's been a successful city manager, I believe, of a city, who's actually done the job and has been a successful city manager of a city comparable to St. Cloud. Darren Gray has served as the city manager of the city of Claremont. He served there for many years. His last tenure there was 8 years during one of the most successful periods of growth that city has seen. He led the city to be recognized as one of Central Florida's best cities to live in. He's also been a successful county manager and a deputy county administrator for Lake County, Orange County, and he's currently working for Osceola County in what the county manager expressed to me is probably someone who was being groomed to take his place should Don Fisher retire. And Don only had good, positive comments about Darren and certainly did not want to see him leave the county. I believe that Darren Gray certainly has strong relational team building skills that's been demonstrated by his experience and his work in Lake County, Orange County, Osceola County, and certainly in the city of Claremont. He has amazing financial qualifications, experience, and skills. You know, he not only has the ability to establish and understand and manage and balance multi-million-dollar budgets, he has been the manager of billion-dollar budgets. He's overseen them and managed them. He has commercial connections that are quite significant. I believe he has the ability and the experience to attract commercial investors that we desperately need to our city. One of the major complaints that I've certainly had and certainly have had voiced to me on so many occasions is that our city needs to grow commercially and economically. And I think we've got a great team that's working hard, and I think it would only be enhanced more with Darren Gray's ability and experience. You know, at Claremont, his city was recognized as one of the top cities in America, not just Florida, in America, for economic growth and for quality of life. His relationship with Orange County, his firsthand knowledge of the development of Neal City and the bridge, I believe has huge economic advantages and spin-off potential for the city of St. Cloud that he would bring to the table. We have certainly all expressed that if we bring somebody in to be our city manager, if it's not Ms. Miller, that there certainly needs to be someone who has a working knowledge of Central Florida. Well, Darren Gray is a graduate of Osceola High School. That may not be one thing we are in favor of or excited about, but for some people. He has spent his entire career working in Central Florida, which is almost unheard of with, 25 years of experience and the places that he's gone, that it's all been right here in Central Florida because of his reputation and his skills and his expertise. You know, the last thing on my thing that I felt that we certainly had both in Ms. Miller and certainly in Mr. Gray is the issue of integrity. Mr. Gray has never been forced to leave any of his jobs. He's never left under bad circumstances. I've talked to many of the people in cities where he's worked, counties, and one of the statements that I've heard repeated, I don't know whether they talked to each other or not, they said he's an all-star. He's also a Navy veteran who's proudly served our country, and I think he would be our best choice for our city manager. I'd just like to make a point. It's been suggested from several people recently to me that they feel this process has been rushed, that we should allow Mr. Gray and Mrs. Miller to go through a due diligence search and selection process with other potential prospects using a professional search company and allow them to further filter and scrutinize who is the best candidate for our next city manager. Personally, I don't believe we could find better candidates than we currently are looking at. And I certainly don't feel like we could find a better candidate than Darren Gray. He's not an unknown candidate from some foreign city or out of state who has come to us with a polished resume that may or may not be accurate. I'm sure this is not an easy decision for our council members, as it has not been an easy decision for me. And no matter what we decide, we will not make everybody happy. But that's not our job. We were not elected to make people happy. We were elected to do what we believe is best for the future of our city. And I believe that Darren Gray is the best choice for the city manager position of the city of St. Cloud. And I hope that my fellow council members will support that. At this point, who would like to speak next?
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Askew.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually listened to everything that you were saying, and I think we're kind of lucky to have these two candidates trying to become city manager here. I know Veronica a lot better than I know Darren. I think both of them are both qualified for this, but I mean, I don't want to put Mr. Sturgeon on the spot, but if this will be my fifth city manager sitting up here, we've done it before. We brought people in from the outside. It was tough on staff. It was especially tough on council, especially trying to understand all the rules and regulations that come along with it. I mean, that's the one nice thing that Darren brings along to it. He's from the area. I interviewed Darren twice. I interviewed Veronica twice as well. I even called some folks, talked to them about Darren. They all think that he's a nice guy, just like when I call and ask about Veronica, they think that she's great. So I did a little own research. I went around and asked a bunch of directors and staff, and a lot of them knew I was asking those questions, so they came in and asked if they can talk to me in my shop. Is she the perfect candidate? I don't think there is a perfect candidate. I mean, this is like a war out there in the big scheme of things. You have so much growth. You have a lot of these things that are going on. And I think Bill, Mr. Sturgeon, did such a great job because he had great support. And I think part of that support system came from Veronica and the staff that was underneath her or beside her. And when Bill came in, and I said, really, you need to wrap yourself around the people that know how to run the city, and those people need to support you. And that's exactly what he did, and that's why I think the city's running so well. I mean, you can walk the halls, and it seems like everything's going pretty well, because trust me, if it's not, they'll let you know. I think the part I like a little bit more about Veronica is that she's been here for the 19 years. That's not the highest criteria part of it, but she knows who to call, who to talk to, how to pick up the phone, talk to this person, and get it done. Do we need to fix a lot of challenges? We do, but I don't think that she was in a position to make those changes and to fix those, the things that we need to fix, especially when it comes to growth. So my vote would be Veronica. So I'd like to hear from the rest of the council.
Councilmember Trace.
Thank you. Had the privilege last week, the week before, of interviewing both candidates. I think they both bring a wealth of knowledge, both diverse in their leadership skills and different in their leadership skills and in their experience. I think with both, we get quality candidates, kind of some pros and cons of each. Mrs. Miller has been at the city for almost 2 decades. Could do most positions in the city, or at least can know what's going on in every position in the city. Mr. Gray has good quality experience in a multitude of cities and counties, so you get to know how other folks are doing things. Also been a part of bigger cities and counties at different levels. So to me, like, they're pretty much equal in my mind on leadership, financial background. They both have good planning experience, customer service. To me, it's a determination on the intangibles between the two. I think with what Mr. Askew just said of the impact of with city staff of having someone internal getting promoted is a big benefit. That's an intangible that will help keep the cohesiveness of the city. It's just something that if we bring in someone from the outside, will be a little different. To me, I have worries and issues with just going towards 2 candidates right off the bat without casting a wider net to essentially, in my mind, all of Florida, because Florida, as everyone knows, Florida operates a little differently than most other states in the union. Just casting a net, to me, making this decision with 2 of us coming off council in the next 2 months, like 3 or 4 meetings left, is just an issue for me, right? I guess any new council, any given Thursday, can choose to no longer employ the city manager or city attorney. So really, all that'll cost us is 90-day severance, right? Is that, I think that's how our charter's written, 90-day severance. So regardless of what decision we make, any given Thursday, 3 council members can decide who not who the next city manager is, but at least who the previous one was. And I think what the city attorney said at the retirement party was very interesting. There hasn't been a city manager retirement from the city in a very long time, which is definitely interested and definitely appreciated with Mr. Sturgeon being at the helm for the past number of years. To me, I mean, biggest thing is I think we should cast a wider net. I think hopefully both of these, I don't know if we're calling them applicants, both of these candidates will be a part of that process, and we can just check and make sure that we have the best candidate for this position. Other thing I asked for, the job description for the city manager. I don't know if they sent that out to everyone, but I think it'd be nice for us to have and talk through with this. I think we did discuss salary last time. Did we actually make a determination of what the salary range would be?
No, we just
Okay.
we just gave you a general range of where.
Because, I mean, we could be talking about 2 candidates that would never take this job description or the salary we're presenting, so, just kind of throws it all out. So I think those are a couple of things that might need to be worked through before we actually say we're going to select someone. Something else that the mayor brought up in his speech was the whole having anyone in the city be a family member or relative of the city manager. I pulled up statute, I pulled up, the charter, and they both seem to say the same thing of it's probably not the best idea to have relatives, even in the agency to begin with, that are relatives, let alone at the high position. So I think that's something we need to discuss as a group and just see if that's something that's going to be a hindrance on this process.
Councilmember Urban.
Yeah, thank you guys for, I definitely respect everybody's comments here, and this is something that I haven't taken lightly. I did have the opportunity to interview both Mr. Gray and Ms. Miller, and we have 2 really quality candidates that I think we should be very thankful as a city that we have these 2 candidates who want to help lead our city. With that said, I believe that Veronica has always been the best person for this job. She's definitely has the ability, the experience, has been here for quite a long time. I think she has the integrity and most importantly to me is showing stability here in the city and longevity. That I think that says a lot to our staff and to our community. Somebody that has been invested here for such a long time. So that would be my choice. And I know that I've been up here the shortest time, but from what I've seen in my time here on the council, that's a decision that I would make. Thank you.
Councilmember Matheny.
Thank you. First, I would like to say, I think we're extremely lucky, like everyone has said, like that we're having this conversation about these 2 highly qualified candidates. I feel like that says how good we're doing, that these highly qualified individuals are willing to come here and be the city manager. And I agree with pretty much everything everybody has said, right? I think we're all like, I've said it so many times the last 2 weeks, like, you always have that trite saying where we got 2 great people running for this, but, like this time is like honestly true, like that we have 2 good people. I think no matter how it turns out, like I think we would be in good hands. I met with both candidates twice as well. Mr. Gray, when he got hired at the county, it was funny. Like I mean, all you heard was positive. Anybody who brought his name up, I mean, everybody loves him. He's a great guy. He's amazing. I've had 2 meetings with him. He's an amazing person, and I think his skill set is amazing. He's got great experience. He's got, really, he's got everything we would want. But also, Miss Miller, for me, she has put the time in at the city. She has run practically every department. She's had almost every position. If I call Miss Miller about anything, she has the answer, or she knows who to call, and she gets back to me like immediately. I just think the wealth of knowledge that we have with Miss Miller, and I also think, you know, being number two, you don't get to move forward the things that you feel like, you know, it's not your city manager spot, you know. I'm having a conversation with her this week. I know there's a lot of things that she wants to change and things that, you know, there's been issues and things in the city. I know she's got a lot of ideas on her plate. Like several of you had mentioned, right out of the gate, I said, what about your husband? You know, right out of the gate, like, you know, what are we gonna do with that? I had conversations with the city attorney, and he gave me his legal opinion about the situation. And then we also talked about a strategy to move any, issues that would come out of the fire department to the, city attorney's office. So it wouldn't go up to the city manager's office, but it would go to the city attorney's office as an alternative to help with that. If it's not a conflict of interest, it's a perceived conflict of interest. And I could also see being a staff person in the fire department, potentially not feeling like I could bring things forward because it's gonna go to the spouse, right? Like, I'm having this issue, why am I gonna bring it forward? Because I'm, you know, nothing's gonna happen. So I did talk to the city attorney about possibility to move things so that the chain of command changes. The nationwide search, I feel the same way. Like, we have two fantastic candidates here. I don't think the nationwide search would present any additional, you know, I don't think we could do any better than the two candidates we have personally. And I also, you know, when we talked about the nationwide search, I had said that I wanted somebody local, like from the state of Florida. And so here we've got two local candidates. So for me, I think I feel comfortable with that. For me, I think it's time for Ms. Miller to have her shot at the city manager's office. And with that, I'll make a motion for Veronica Miller to be the city manager.
Could you help us with how that motion ought to be worded?
I think what would need to be done at this point is if you would basically recognize that you would like Mrs. Miller to be the one that we reach out to negotiate a contract with to be brought back at your next council meeting. Typically how this has been done, our office has worked with the HR director and we've worked with the selected candidate to negotiate essentially the standard city manager agreement where you bring it back. And that agreement, at that point, the council would take final action and decide whether that agreement would be approved at whatever the salary level we could do. We could negotiate as part of that within the range of the salary, which is what we talked about last time. So essentially the motion you would make now would be a motion to authorize the city attorney and the HR director to negotiate with Mrs. Miller and then bring back a contract for final approval by the city council.
We have a motion from Councilmember Matheny,
Second?
and we have a second from Councilmember Askew.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, we call the roll.
Councilmember Urban?
Aye.
Councilmember Askew?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor, Councilmember Trace?
Nay.
Deputy Mayor Matheny?
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-2.
So we'll
Is there
hopefully
anything
have
else
an
we need to
agreement on
address?
this. No, we'll have an agreement on the agenda for September 8th, hopefully. Thank you.
With that, our agenda is completed. Thank you.
So you going to the CRA? You going to the CRA?